Hey yogis, I'm Nicole. Welcome back to My Yoga Time. Today's yoga snack is for the whole body, and there are a couple of intermediate poses in there, but plenty of variations and modifications to suit everyone. So I've got 2 blocks for this practice we're going to use towards the end of the class. If you don't have blocks, you can improvise with a thick book or a rolled up towel as well. So when you're ready, let's come over into our child's pose, a wide-legged variation. So big toes touching, knees nice and wide, and sink those hips back. We'll extend those arms out in front. Now, if your forehead doesn't meet the mat with ease, place a block or your towel underneath. You might choose to keep those arms straight or bring those hands into prayer above the head. Begin to breathe down into the lower body. Inhaling into the lower belly, the lower back, the hips. And when you get there, pause. Hold the breath for 1 or 2 counts before exhaling slowly. Feel the back rise when you inhale. The body expands. And then as you exhale, notice the body softening, surrendering into the pose. On your next inhalation, we'll lift up, coming forward now into plank position, and we'll come into a forearm plank. So lowering those arms down, having those elbows underneath the shoulders, and be sure to tuck your tailbone under. You really want to round the upper back here. Option 1, staying as you are. Option 2, if you want to work into those obliques a little more, bring your left hip down to the mat and then come back to center. Right hip down and then back to center. Of course, if your forearm plank's not an option at all, you can always come into your Sphinx pose instead. And from here, come all the way down into your navel. Extend those hands out in front, keep the heart lifted, and try and drag your hands back. Inhale. And exhale, lower down. Prepare for your locust pose now, hands next to the hips. Tuck your tailbone under, engage the lower belly. When you inhale, lifting up the chest and the legs. Try to lift through the inner thighs and lifting the chin, moving the throat forward. Keep breathing. On an exhalation, lower down, turn your head to one side, let those palms face the ceiling. And let's return to tabletop, coming all the way back up. We'll thread the needle, right arm underneath the left. Bringing your right ear to the mat, if not your block. We'll point that left elbow up towards the ceiling. Keep the palm lifted, just on those fingertips. You might like to take a mudra through your right hand and gently press your right arm into the floor. So you're trying to rotate your heart towards the ceiling. Option to stay as you are. If you're looking for a little more of a challenge, you can extend that left leg behind you and then float the foot up off the floor. Lower left leg down if you had lifted it up. Let's come all the way back up and changing sides. Left arm underneath the right. Gently squeezing those shoulders towards one another. If you did so on the other side, extend that right leg behind you. Option to float the foot up off the floor. And let's release. Return to tabletop. Hands under shoulders. See if those pinky fingers can meet the edges of your mat. We'll curl those toes. Inhale into your back bend. Exhale to round. And next time you round the spine, we'll lift up into your downward facing dog. Hold your downward dog as you inhale. And then exhale, knees to the mat. Find your back bend on your in-breath. We'll do one more round. So your next downward facing dog, holding it there. We'll center the left leg and raise the right leg, three-legged dog. Option to stay as you are, or if the hips permit, lift the right hip, bend the knee. You want to point the knee up towards the ceiling. Flexing through that right foot as though you're trying to kick something away. Looking under your armpit. Inhale. Straighten the leg, square the hips. Exhale, step through. Ground your left foot for warrior two. We're going to windmill those arms out, coming all the way up. So here, be sure that you're opening out through that right knee. You want to see your big toe on the inside. Back foot's on a very slight angle. Try not to have it exactly parallel to the short side of the mat. The hips prefer a slight angle. And you want to stretch the mat, so push the feet away from one another. Keep that activation through the legs. We're going to take a flow with the upper body. On the inhalation, reverse your warrior. On the exhalation, take the elbow to the knee, sweep the left arm down and overhead. Option to find a mudra. Inhale here. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Exhale, side angle pose. Rounding out the back. Inhaling there. And exhale, warrior two. Last flow. We're going to hold the side angle now, so keep the elbow on the knee to begin with. Sweep that left arm down and overhead as you inhale. And then as you exhale, bring that arm back. Just semicircle. Inhale overhead. And exhaling down. Staying overhead now as you inhale the arm up. So option to keep that elbow on the knee. If so, I want you to try and lift up that leg into the elbow and push the elbow down. So create resistance there. If it's available for you, you can lower that arm down to the inside of the leg. And if you're here, I want you to push the arm into the leg into the arm. Still stretching the mat with your feet and rounding out the back. Breathing into the side waist. Well done. We're going to lower this left hand down to the floor, pick up that heel, moving into a side plank now. So option one, of course, would be a supported or half side plank, just taking that right foot to the floor in between left foot and hand. Otherwise, stacking your foot on top. Either staying there, or you might like to take a tree variation. So if you're taking the tree variation, gently press the sole of the foot into the thigh, thigh into the foot. Lift up those hips. Inhale and exhale. Let's return to plank. So bring the body forward, rounding out the upper back. Elbows brush the ribs. Let's come all the way down to the mat. Same as before, extend the arms out in front, lift the heart, try and pull the hands back. And lower down. Return to plank via the knees, round out the back, and downward facing dog. Same sequence other side, left leg up. Option to bend the knee and open out that hip. Look under your armpit. Inhale, straighten the legs, square the hips. Exhale, step through. Prepare for warrior two. So grounding that right foot on a slight angle. Windmill those arms up. Remember to press the feet away from one another. Reverse your warrior as you inhale. And exhale, elbow to knee, sweep the right arm down and overhead. Holding here on the inhalation. Exhale, warrior two. Inhale. Exhale. Last flow, we're going to hold your side angle pose next time. Exhale, sweep that arm down past the body and inhale overhead. Next time that arm comes overhead, hold it there. Either keeping elbow on the knee with resistance or lower the hand down to the inside of the leg. Feel free to look down towards the big toe. Be sure to round out the back and stretch the mat with your feet. Inhale. And as you exhale, lower right hand down. So once again, we'll transition into your side plank. So you might do half a side plank with the sole of the left foot on the floor, a full plank, or your tree variation. So creating resistance between the foot and the leg. If you're there, be sure to lift up those hips. Inhale. And return to plank. So option, as we did before, come all the way down to your navel, or if you'd like to take an upward facing dog, we'll just hover an inch above the floor and roll over the toes, keeping legs off the floor for your up dog, only feet and hands. Let's return to plank and downward facing dog. Looking to the top of the mat, you can step up. Inhale halfway. Exhale to fold. Reverse swan dive. Come all the way up. And hands to the heart. From here, let's step your left foot back just about a meter. So 45-degree angle on that back leg. And we'll bring the arms out to the side. Turn the palms up and push through the heels of the palms, pull the fingers back, roll the shoulders forward and down. Try and move the elbows up and back. Then we'll take a mudra, connect index finger and thumbs, roll the wrists, roll the shoulders forward and down. Try and move the elbows up and back. And release. Take those hands behind you, interlace the fingers. Feel free to keep the heels of the palms apart. Press those feet away from one another as you lift the heart, and then as you exhale, folding forward. So you're stretching the mat with the feet as you transition. And take your drishti to your big toe. If you can, knuckles to point to the ceiling. Let's release those hands down. Step the left leg back, coming into a low lunge. So here in your low lunge, I want you to move the feet the opposite direction. Try and squish them towards each other. So pull that left knee forward, right foot back, and let's inhale those arms up. So option 1, you can stay here with those arms up. Option 2, bend the right arm, hand in between the shoulder blades. Left hand can go to the elbow, or if it's available for you, take that left arm down out to the side, roll the shoulder again, and then take the arm behind you, clasping those fingers. Still trying to pull left knee forward, right heel back. And deepen your breath. Inhale. And release those hands as you exhale, lower to the floor. We're going to rock back and step up to the top of your mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale to fold. Reverse swan dive. Hands to the heart, step your right foot back. 45-degree angle on that back foot. And once again, arms out to the side. Push through the heels of the palms, pull the fingers back. Shoulders roll forward and down. Then take a mudra with your hands, roll the wrists, roll the shoulders. And then clasp the hands behind you. Stretch the mat with the feet, lift the heart, fold forward. Drishti to your big toe. Release those hands down. Step the right foot back, low lunge. Press the feet towards one another, bring the arms up. Here is option 1. Option 2, left hand in between the shoulder blades, right hand to the elbow. Otherwise, right arm out to the side. Roll the shoulder. And then clasp the fingers. And let's release. So picking up that back knee. So option 1, you can step up to the top of your mat and take ragdoll. Option 2, if your hips and knees permit, we're going to step into our yogi squat. So turn your left toes out a little, heel is in, rock back, and then step your right foot up. So heels in, toes out. Push your elbows into your knees and squeeze the knees into the elbows. Hands to prayer. So it's a lovely hip opening pose and also a really good one to stimulate digestion. Well done, yogis. From here, hands down, hips up. Heel toe those feet about hip width apart. So if you need your blocks here, you can have your blocks underneath your hands next to the feet. Otherwise, we're going to pistol grip. Your middle finger and pointer finger loop around the big toes. Elbows will bend out to the side and drop the head. Here, try to feel as though you're sliding the feet away from one another. Sit bones will lift. Engage the shoulders, draw them up towards your hips. Option 1, staying here. Option 2, we'll return to our yogi squat. So heels in, toes out. Drop those hips down. Hands return to prayer. So option is stay here, or if you'd like to come into an arm balance, we'll practice our crow pose this morning. So when you place your hands, they'll be shoulder width apart, fingers spread nice and wide. And it's almost like you're trying to create a little suction cap with the center of your palm as you press the pads of the fingers down and lift the middle part of the palm just a touch. Try and turn the heels of the palms in as well, and this is going to create a little more support around those elbows. So if this is new to you, then you don't feel any pressure to lift your feet up off the floor. You can just start to transition the weight into the hands to help build strength. So coming right up high onto your toes, and you're going to push the very top parts of your shin into your biceps. Keep looking forward. Start to rock forwards and backwards as you transition the weight. And you might choose just to lift one foot off the mat, especially if this is new to you. That might be enough today. Or if it's available for you, picking up both feet and bringing those big toes to touch. Imagine you're trying to squeeze a beach ball in between your arms and your legs. Avoid looking straight down, or that's where you'll go. Well done, yogis. Let's return those feet to the floor. Take those hips up once again. Option to take your ragdoll, holding the elbows in the hands, or if you can, place those hands underneath the feet. So you're standing on your palms. Toes are going to meet the creases of your wrist, and try and pull your hands out. You might even give your wrists a little massage with the tips of your toes. So this is a little wrist therapy. If you've got room to bend the elbows, they'll bend out to the side. And let's release. Stepping back into your downward facing dog. Moving into pigeon pose now. Inhale your right leg up. And then place the right knee behind the right wrist. Lengthen your left leg behind you. Now, if your knees and hips aren't happy here, I want you to lean off to the right and bend both legs instead. Left thigh, right shin parallel to one another. And if this is where you are, you're going to fold off a little further to the right. And if you're in your pigeon pose, we'll straighten that back leg. Find a little squeeze behind the knee. You might even like to pop your finger there and see if you can engage. Just keep that tone if you can. And then when you're ready, fold forward. Feel free to make a pillow with your hands or even fists and stack them on top of one another. Slow the breath down. Remember that pause before you exhale. Follow your next inhalation out of the pose. We'll return to downward facing dog. You might even like to walk out the legs. Gently move the hips from side to side. When you're ready, changing sides, left leg up. Take the knee behind the wrist, lengthen the right leg behind you. Again, if this is not an option for you, lean off over to the left and bend both legs. When you're ready, folding down. And soften into the pose. There's nowhere to be but with your breath. Following your next inhalation out of the pose, returning to your downward facing dog once again. Again, find any movement that feels good. So when you're ready, lower those knees down to the mat and recruit your props now. We're going to take an upper back bend. So I'm going to make a T shape with my blocks and have them on the highest height. So feel free to configure your props slightly different if you prefer. You can always go to the lowest height. If you're using a towel and a thick book, then you'll have both of your props parallel to one another and your towel will run underneath your shoulders. So a few options here with your legs. Any concerns with the knees? You might choose just to have those legs out in front. Lower down to find your blocks. Option to keep those knees bent, or you can straighten and relax the legs. Now if you've no concerns with your knees and you'd like to practice a hero pose, we're going to sit in between the feet. So rolling your calf muscles to the side. So obviously this position is not available to everybody. If there's any pain in your knees or your ankles, please take the legs out in front. And also you want the top of the foot to the floor. Avoid having the foot flung out to the side, as that can cause some twisting in the knee. So when you're ready to recline, I want you to lean back, lift up your bottom and try and tuck your tailbone under a little, just so that you're not jamming through your low back. Looking for your blocks. And then resting with those arms next to the body. Option to take a mudra once again through the hands, connecting index finger and thumb. Observing your breath once again. And when you're ready to release the pose, if you're in hero, then turn those palms down. Tuck in the chin and come halfway up to seated. If your legs are straight out in front, you can do the same, just bend those knees to come up or roll off to one side to come off your props. So if you're in hero, you might like to take a last downward facing dog just to counter stretch those knees. If you weren't in your hero pose, feel free to move your blocks to the side and come down onto your back. So yogis in their downward facing dog, let's lower down to the mat now. Take your props to the side, still having them close by though. We're going to come down onto your back. So once on your back, feel free to take the knees in the hands and just rock from side to side. Feeling the meeting points between the back side of the body and the mat. And when you're ready, lower those feet to the floor. Move the hips just a touch to the left. We'll cross the left leg over the right leg. Coming down into a twist, Bring the knees over to your right and feel free to place a block underneath the legs for support. Now, either keeping the head in the center, otherwise move the back of the head to the right and then turn your head to the left. And see if you can deepen your twist by deepening your breath. Let's inhale the knees back to center. Uncrossing the legs, we'll change sides now. Right leg over the left. Bring those knees down, taking your block over for support. Inhale, knees to center. Uncrossing the legs, moving into Savasana. And if you've got the two blocks or your rolled up towel, I encourage you to place them underneath the legs, either underneath the hamstrings or the knees. Arms by your side, palms to face the ceiling. Option to take a mudra. Shoulders tuck under. Eyes closed down. Softening the forehead, the tongue and jaw. Inhaling a little deeper now as you guide your awareness back. Swallowing if the mouth is dry, or running your tongue over the teeth. Feel free to wiggle toes and fingers, or follow any urges to stretch. And finding your way to your preferred side. And pushing yourself up to seated. Thanks, yogis. I hope that you enjoyed the practice today. If there's something in particular that you'd like to work on, feel free to make any class requests in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to support free yoga on YouTube. Wishing you a lovely day.